Your approaches have become obsolete, Brianna declared, positioning herself casually against her transparent desk, while afternoon light filtering through the wall-to-wall windows in her executive suite reflected off her costly timepiece. We require innovative viewpoints that match today's marketing philosophies. I remained motionless, keeping my hands clasped on my lap while absorbing her words. 15 years of dedication at Bluest Creative, and this was the conclusion, in an impersonal office with a woman who had held the CEO position for under 3 months. Dana, meet Taylor Griggs, Brianna went on, indicating the young woman positioned next to her. She will assume control of your client portfolios starting today. Taylor, sporting an immaculate hairstyle and couture jacket, offered what appeared to be a compassionate expression. I'm truly enthusiastic about expanding upon the groundwork you've laid, she said. Groundwork, as though my decade and a half of cultivating relationships, managing crises, and creating prize-winning campaigns were merely rough drafts for whatever revolutionary tactics this 28-year-old social media expert-turned-advertiser had planned. Valent, Greenway, and Sterling represent our most significant accounts, I stated with composure. They've remained with me for more than 10 years. They may have reservations about this change. Brianna dismissed my concern with a wave. We've considered that. Taylor will conduct introductory conversations this week. Your departure compensation is substantial, and HR has prepared the documentation. I chose not to debate. I didn't mention that Valent's marketing chief contacted me personally during PR emergencies. I omitted how I'd assisted Sterling Financial in reconstructing their image following the economic downturn when others had deserted them. I avoided noting that Greenway Foods CEO had attended my daughter's wedding ceremony. Instead, I rose, adjusted my skirt, and acknowledged, I comprehend. I'll empty my workspace. As I prepared to exit, Brianna added, we would value your cooperation in making this change pleasant for all parties. The suggestion was unmistakable. Avoid causing disruption, don't contact clients, don't harm the firm's standing. Naturally, I responded. I've maintained professionalism throughout, and I had for 15 years. I'd served as Bluecrest Creative's foundation in Fresno, California. I'd developed client connections that went beyond mere business dealings. I'd guided junior personnel, worked extra hours, and invested my passion into every project. I'd converted a failing local firm into a nationally acclaimed company. None of this held significance now for Brianna Lake. To her, I was merely an obsolete model being substituted with a newer edition. Walking back to my workspace, I experienced something unforeseen beneath the surprise and letdown, a quiet conviction. They believed they were concluding something today, but I was about to commence. My tenure at Bluest Creative started when it was still Peterson Design Group. During that period, we employed 6 people operating from a renovated residence in central Fresno. I was 34, recently separated with a 10-year-old child, and determined to establish myself in advertising after years in journalism. Harold Peterson took a risk on me despite my non-traditional experience. Journalists comprehend what motivates people to care about narratives, he'd explained during my interview. That's the basis of effective marketing. Those initial years were thrilling, resourceful, disorganized, but filled with authentic enthusiasm for our work. We commemorated each new customer with pizza gatherings, and Harold required handwritten appreciation notes for every assignment. When I secured the Valente contract in my second year, an accomplishment that doubled our yearly income, Harold presented me with a plaque that remained on my desk, Relationships Before Transactions. Throughout the years, I'd observed the agency expand, transform, and eventually transfer to a larger marketing corporation when Harold retired. I'd managed leadership transitions, survived 2 company rebranding efforts, and adjusted to evolving industry patterns. However, I'd consistently preserved that fundamental principle. Authentic relationships formed the basis of enduring success. While packing my possessions, carefully protecting the industry recognition and client appreciation plaques documenting my 15-year path, I considered the connections I'd established. Thomas Wells, Valente's CMO, contacted me directly during product concerns, trusting me to help develop their public statements. We'd collaborated through 3 corporate reorganizations and numerous product introductions. Jessica Hang from Greenway Foods relied on my team during their transition from regional to national supplier. She'd once remarked, "Dana, you're the sole marketing executive who actually toured our agricultural facilities to grasp our principles." And Robert Klein from Sterling Financial, who remained with Blue Crest during the economic crisis because, in his words, "Dana recognizes our business involves more than statistics, it's about confidence." These weren't merely clients. They were partnerships founded on years of mutual regard, reliable outcomes, and authentic comprehension of their operations. I positioned the final award in my container, Agency Professional of the Year, presented just 4 months prior at the Western States Marketing Awards. Alongside it, I placed my company computer and identification badge. Taking one final glance around my office, my phone chimed with a message from my daughter Ellie. "How did the meeting progress? Still planning dinner tonight?" I smiled despite everything. "Absolutely, and I have updates. Love you." I departed Blue Crest Creative without looking backward, my container of memories in my grasp and a strategy already developing in my thoughts. The dining establishment was crowded for a Tuesday night. Ellie had secured a booth before my arrival, and seeing her, my self-assured, intelligent 25-year-old daughter, immediately improved my mood. "What's this enigmatic news?" she inquired after we placed our orders. "Did they finally promote you to partner?" I inhaled deeply. "Actually, I was terminated today." Ellie's reaction changed from surprise to fury within moments. "What? After 15 years? It's commerce," I interrupted gently. "New management, new perspective." "It's not fair," she maintained. "You constructed that agency, Mom. Everyone understands Blue Crest would be insignificant without you." I appreciated her fierce devotion. "It's acceptable, truly. Perhaps it's time for change." Ellie examined me across her water glass. "You're handling this suspiciously calmly. What are you scheming?" That was my daughter, always capable of reading between my carefully structured sentences. "Do you recall Jason and Veronica? They departed Bluest last year." She nodded. "Your former creative director and digital strategist, correct? They've been attempting to persuade me to join them in establishing something new, a specialized agency focused on relationship marketing rather than merely following trends." Understanding appeared on Ellie's face. "And you've been declining because of your commitment to Blue Crest." "Precisely. But now you're liberated," she completed for me. "Liberated." The term echoed through me as our meals arrived. I hadn't considered it that way, but Ellie was correct. After years of balancing increasingly corporate requirements with my client-focused methodology, I was suddenly unrestricted by those limitations. I contacted Jason immediately after the meeting. I confessed. "We're having breakfast tomorrow to discuss my joining as a founding partner at Summit Edge Marketing." Ellie lifted her glass. "To fresh starts." As we dined, I shared additional details about the dismissal, Brianna's condescension, Taylor's artificial sympathy, the clear indication that my methods were deemed obsolete. "What about your clients?" Ellie asked. "Valent and the others. Won't they be disturbed?" I hesitated. "I signed a non-solicitation contract years ago. I cannot directly recruit clients. But if they approached you independently, that would be different." I acknowledged, but I'm uncertain if they will. Companies establish relationships with agencies, not individuals. Even as I spoke, I knew it wasn't completely accurate. Thomas had contacted me directly just last week regarding Valent's forthcoming product launch. Jessica had texted photographs from her daughter's graduation. Robert had sent a handwritten note after our recent successful campaign for Sterling Financial. However, I couldn't rely on sentiment in the business realm. Brianna would undoubtedly be working to secure those relationships, probably scheduling meetings already. Regardless, I told Ellie, looking at my half-eaten meal, I need to progress forward, not backward. My phone buzzed in my purse, then repeatedly. I retrieved it to discover 3 messages from 3 different contacts. Thomas, heard the news. Need to discuss tomorrow. Jessica, Dana, please contact me. Urgent. Robert, this is unacceptable. Breakfast tomorrow. I looked up at Ellie, who raised an eyebrow at my expression. What? She asked. It appears, I said slowly, that those agency-client relationships might be more individual than Brianna understood. The following morning, I sat across from Jason and Veronica at Riverside Cafe, the scent of fresh coffee blending with the excitement of new opportunities. We've been anticipating this moment, Jason confessed, sliding a folder across the table. We've delayed officially launching Summit Edge until we could approach you again. I opened the folder to find comprehensive business plans, financial forecasts, and a proposed organizational structure with my name listed as founding partner and client relations director. You two have been productive, I remarked, impressed by the thoroughness of their preparation. Veronica, always straightforward, leaned forward. Dana, we've observed Blue Crest drift further from Harold's vision annually. The corporate acquisition was merely the final blow for us. When Brianna was appointed, we knew it was inevitable before they removed you too. The industry is evolving, I acknowledged, but that doesn't mean relationships and trust are obsolete. Exactly. Jason nodded enthusiastically. All this discussion about disruption overlooks the point. Effective marketing has always been about connecting with people, understanding their needs, and building trust. The tools change, but the fundamentals remain. I appreciated their passion, but stayed cautious. I believe in your vision, our vision, but starting fresh isn't simple. It took years to build Blue's client base. Veronica and Jason exchanged glances. We have something to show you, Veronica said, producing her tablet. She opened an email and turned it toward me. This arrived last night. It was an inquiry from Westlake Industries, a medium-sized manufacturing company that had been on Blue's prospect list for years. How did they locate you? You haven't even launched yet. Jason smiled. Word spreads. A former colleague mentioned our plans to their marketing director, who's apparently frustrated with their current agency. As I continued reading, my phone rang. Thomas Wells from Valente. I should answer this, I said, stepping away from the table. Dana, Thomas began without preamble. What's happening at Blue Crest? I received a call yesterday introducing me to someone named Taylor, who's supposedly assuming our account. I selected my words carefully. There's been a leadership change, Thomas. The new CEO has different concepts about client management. Different concepts? He sounded incredulous. We've collaborated for a decade. You understand our business thoroughly, and they believe they can simply replace you like an interchangeable component. I appreciate your concern. It's not concern, Dana. It's business. We hired Blue Crest because of you. I'm meeting with this Taylor person today as a courtesy, but I want to know your intentions. I hesitated. I cannot solicit Blue Crest clients. You understand that. I'm not requesting solicitation, Thomas clarified. I'm asking where you're headed because Valent may be interested in following. When I returned to the table, both Jason and Veronica could interpret my expression. Valent, Jason guessed. I nodded, still processing the conversation. And I have breakfast with Robert from Sterling Financial at 9:30, then a call with Jessica from Greenway at 11. Wow. Veronica leaned back, a slow smile spreading across her face. So, all three of Blue Crest's largest accounts contacted you within hours of your departure? Dana, that's not coincidence, Jason added. It's validation. It's not finalized, I cautioned. They're loyal, but they're also businesses. Brianna will fight to retain them. With what? Jason asked. Taylor Griggs's social media following? These clients want substance, not style. As we continued our discussion, my phone buzzed with an email. It was from Brianna. Dana, regarding client transitions, please remember your contractual obligations. Any attempt to solicit Blue Crest clients will be met with immediate legal action. I trust you'll act professionally. Brianna Lake, CEO. I showed the email to Jason and Veronica. She's worried, Veronica observed. She should be, Jason added. I looked between my two potential business partners, a decision crystallizing in my mind. Let's do this, I said finally, but we do it properly. No solicitation, no legal gray areas. If these clients come to us, it will be entirely their decision. Veronica raised her coffee mug. To Summit Edge Marketing, founded on relationships, built to last. As we clinked mugs, I felt something I hadn't expected: relief. This wasn't just about survival after being let go. This was about building something that truly reflected my values. Breakfast with Robert from Sterling Financial was illuminating. He arrived at the restaurant already irritated, barely glancing at the menu before launching into his concerns. "I've been with Blue Crest with you for 8 years, he said. "Through the financial crisis, through our rebranding, through everything. And yesterday I get a call from some Taylor person who can't even pronounce our chief investment officer's name correctly." I listened sympathetically. "Transitions are always challenging." "This isn't about transitions," Robert insisted. "This is about trust. Sterling works with Blue Crest because, you understand, financial services marketing isn't just about flashy campaigns. It's about stability, reliability, trustworthiness." I nodded, careful not to say anything that could be construed as solicitation. "I've always valued our working relationship, Robert." "So, what are your plans?" he asked bluntly. I hesitated, then decided honesty was best. "I'm joining a new venture, Summit Edge Marketing, a boutique agency focused on relationship-driven strategies." Robert pulled out his phone and made a note. "And when will this agency be operational?" "We're finalizing details now. We should be fully functional within 2 weeks." He nodded, seemingly satisfied. "I'll need information for our procurement department." I started to respond when my phone buzzed with a text from Ellie. "Mom, have you seen this?" Attached was a screenshot of a LinkedIn post from Brianna Lake. "Excited to announce Blue Crest Creative's new direction. With innovative leadership and fresh talent like Taylor Griggs, we're revolutionizing our approach to meet the demands of today's digital landscape. Sometimes necessary changes mean goodbye to outdated methodologies. Onwards and upwards. #marketing innovation, #new era." The post featured a photo of Brianna and Taylor standing in front of the Blue Crest logo, both smiling broadly. My stomach tightened, but I maintained my composure as I showed it to Robert. His expression darkened. "Outdated methodologies? Is she referring to the approach that won Sterling 3 industry awards last year?" I remained diplomatic. "Change is part of business." "Not all change is progress," Robert countered, standing up. "I need to make some calls. Expect to hear from our procurement team soon." As he left, my phone rang. Jessica from Greenway Foods calling early. "Dana," she began without greeting, "I just saw Brianna's post. Is that why you left?" "Because she thinks relationship marketing is outdated." "Jessica, because if that's Bluest's new philosophy, we have a serious problem. Greenway's entire brand is built on relationships, with farmers, with communities, with customers." I took a deep breath. "I didn't leave by choice, Jessica." A pause. "You were fired?" Her tone conveyed disbelief. "The term was restructuring," I clarified, "but essentially yes." "Because your methods are outdated?" I didn't need to answer. Brianna's post had made it clear. "This is unbelievable," Jessica continued. "After everything you've done, the Farmland Heritage Campaign, the Community Harvest Initiative, these weren't just marketing successes, Dana. They captured the very soul of our company." Her indignation was touching, but I needed to be careful. "Jessica, I value our professional relationship immensely, but I can't solicit." "You don't need to solicit anything," she interrupted. "I'm informing you that Greenway will be reviewing our agency relationships immediately. Where can I reach you if we need to discuss alternatives?" I gave her my personal contact information, a surreal feeling washing over me. Within 24 hours of being dismissed as obsolete, 3 major clients were independently reaching out to follow me. After ending the call, I sat alone at the table, processing everything. Brianna's post had been a strategic error, a public dismissal of the very approach her biggest clients valued. In trying to position Bluest as cutting edge, she'd inadvertently signaled to relationship-focused clients that they were no longer a priority. My phone buzzed again. A text from Jason. "Emergency at Summit Edge HQ. Can you come now?" Summit Edge headquarters was currently Jason's home office, where we'd been setting up temporary operations. Concerned, I paid the bill and rushed over. When I arrived, I found Jason and Veronica staring at a computer screen, looking stunned. "What's wrong?" I asked. Veronica turned the screen toward me. "Nothing's wrong, but you need to see this." It was an email from Thomas Wells at Valente. "After careful consideration, Valent is terminating our contract with Bluecrest Creative effective immediately. We'll be seeking new representation that aligns with our commitment to meaningful client relationships." The next 48 hours were a whirlwind. By Wednesday afternoon, all three companies, Valent Tech, Greenway Foods, and Sterling Financial, had formally terminated their relationships with Bluecrest Creative. By Thursday morning, we were fielding inquiries from 2 additional Bluecrest clients who had caught wind of the exodus. "This is happening faster than we anticipated," Veronica said during our impromptu strategy session in Jason's living room. "We need to accelerate our timeline." Jason nodded, typing furiously on his laptop. "I've got our designer finalizing the logo today. The website framework is ready. We need office space like yesterday." "I might have a solution for that," I offered. "Harold Peterson still owns that converted house downtown where Bluecrest started. He's been leasing it to a nonprofit that's moving to a larger space next month." Veronica's eyes lit up. That would be perfect symbolism, returning to the roots of what marketing should be. I sent a quick text to Harold, who responded almost immediately. "For you, Dana, it's yours. Let's talk tomorrow." As we continued planning, my phone rang with an unknown number. I excused myself to take the call. "Dana Mallister?" My voice was tentative. "Ms. Mallister, this is Deanna Winters, chairperson of the board at Bluest Creative." My heart skipped. The board chair herself. This was unexpected. "Ms. Winters, how can I help you?" "I'll be direct," she said, her tone businesslike but not unfriendly. "We've had some concerning developments at Bluest. 3 major accounts terminating simultaneously has raised significant questions about our current leadership." I remained silent, waiting for her to continue. "The board is meeting tomorrow to discuss these developments. Before we make any decisions, I wanted to hear your perspective on what transpired." Carefully selecting my words, I explained the situation: Brianna's dismissal of relationship marketing, my termination, the introduction of Taylor as my replacement. I emphasized that I had not solicited any clients, that they had each independently reached out to me. "And these accounts, they're following you to a new venture?" she asked. "That appears to be their intention," I confirmed. A long pause followed. "Would you consider returning to Bluest if certain changes were made in leadership?" The question caught me off guard. Return to Bluest after being unceremoniously dismissed? After being labeled outdated? "Ms. Winters, I'm flattered by the implication, but I've committed to a new path. My partners and I are launching Summit Edge Marketing. We've already signed lease paperwork and filed our business formation documents." "I understand," she said, sounding disappointed. "One final question, if I may. These client departures, do you believe they're about you personally or about the approach to marketing that Brianna is dismissing?" "Both," I answered honestly. In relationship marketing, the personal and professional are intertwined. These clients value consistency, trust, and deep understanding of their businesses. That takes years to build and seconds to destroy. After ending the call, I returned to find Jason and Veronica looking expectant. "The board chair," I explained. "They're questioning Brianna's leadership." Jason let out a low whistle. "After 3 days? That's got to be some kind of record." "They asked if I would consider coming back," I admitted. Veronica's expression shifted to concern. And I told her I'm committed to Summit Edge." Relief washed over both their faces. "Good," Veronica said firmly, "because we just got confirmation from Sterling Financial. They want to sign with us as soon as we're operational." My phone buzzed with an email notification. It was from Thomas at Valent with the subject line, "Contract ready for review." As I opened it, another email arrived from Jessica at Greenway Foods, "Moving forward with Summit Edge." In just 3 days, We had secured commitments from clients representing over $4 million in annual billing. Summit Edge hadn't even officially launched yet. "I think," Jason said with growing excitement, "we're going to need a bigger office." The official launch of Summit Edge marketing came exactly 2 weeks after my dismissal from Bluecrest. We'd secured the original Peterson Design Group building, a symbolic return to values that had been forgotten in the corporate evolution. Harold had not only leased us the space but had also come out of retirement to serve as an advisor. "You've brought it full circle," he told me as we stood in the freshly renovated space, the smell of new paint and possibility in the air. "This is what I always hoped Bluecrest would remain, marketing built on understanding, not gimmicks." Our team had grown quickly beyond the 3 founding partners. We'd hired 2 strategists, a content team, and a digital specialist, all former Bluecrest employees who had either left voluntarily or been restructured in Brianna's new regime. The morning of our launch, as we prepared for our first official all-hands meeting, I received a text from Ellie. "Have you seen the news about Bluest?" I hadn't, having been completely immersed in building Summit Edge. I quickly found the article she referenced. Marketing agency shakeup. Bluecrest Creative announces CEO departure after major client exodus. The article detailed how Brianna Lake was stepping down to pursue other opportunities following the loss of several major accounts. The board had appointed an interim CEO while conducting a search for permanent leadership. I shared the news with Jason and Veronica, who both read it with wide eyes. "I knew there would be fallout," Jason said, "but I didn't expect it to happen this fast." "The board must have been horrified by the revenue implications," Veronica observed. "Losing 40% of your billing in 1 week would terrify any shareholder." I felt a complex mix of emotions, vindication, certainly, but also sadness for what Bluecrest had become. The agency had been my professional home for 15 years. Seeing it stumble wasn't a victory I savored. "Let's focus on Summit Edge," I said finally. "Bluest's situation is their challenge now, not ours." As our team gathered for the meeting, I felt a surge of genuine excitement. This wasn't just a response to rejection, it was the beginning of something authentic and valuable. 6 months after our launch, Summit Edge had established itself as a formidable presence in the regional marketing landscape. We'd moved beyond our founding clients to secure 4 new accounts, each drawn to our relationship-centered philosophy. Our team had doubled in size, necessitating an expansion into the building next door to Harold's original office. The morning of our 6-month anniversary celebration, I arrived early to prepare my remarks. As I set up in our conference room, the front desk called to inform me I had a visitor. To my surprise, it was Taylor Griggs, my former replacement at Bluest. "Do you have a moment?" she asked, looking significantly less confident than she had in Brianna's office 6 months earlier. I invited her in, curious about the purpose of her visit. "I've been following Summit Edge's growth," Taylor began, fidgeting with her coffee cup. "What you've built in 6 months is remarkable." "Thank you," I replied neutrally. "What can I do for you, Taylor?" She took a deep breath. "After you left, everything at Bluest fell apart. Without the major accounts, they couldn't sustain the staff. There have been 3 rounds of layoffs." I hadn't been following Bluest's situation closely, focusing instead on building our new agency. "I'm sorry to hear that. The thing is," Taylor continued, "I realized something important. Brianna was wrong about outdated methods. What you did, building those client relationships, that wasn't outdated. It was foundational." Her honesty was unexpected. "The accounts I was given," she admitted, "they all left within weeks. I couldn't maintain them because I hadn't built the trust you had." I studied her carefully. There was genuine regret in her expression. "Why are you telling me this?" I asked. Taylor straightened her shoulders. "Bluecrest let me go last week. I'm here because I want to learn from you the right way to do this work." The request caught me off guard. This young woman who had been positioned as my innovative replacement was now asking to learn from me. "I don't expect you to hire me," she clarified quickly, "but maybe mentorship?" I realized I need to build a foundation before I can innovate on top of it. The Summit Edge anniversary celebration that afternoon was filled with genuine camaraderie and shared purpose. Our team gathered in the expanded office space, surrounded by framed campaign successes from our first 6 months. The energy was palpable. This wasn't just a business, it was a community united by shared values. As I stood to address everyone, I surveyed the faces before me, former Bluecrest colleagues who had found a new professional home, new hires bringing fresh perspectives, and in the back, Taylor, who had accepted my offer to join us for the celebration as the first step in a potential mentorship. 6 months ago, we started Summit Edge with a simple belief. I began that in marketing as in life, relationships matter. That trust is earned through consistency and understanding. That listening is more valuable than talking. The room nodded in collective agreement. What we've built isn't just a response to rejection, it's an affirmation of what we've always known to be true. Marketing isn't about chasing trends. It's about connecting authentically with the humans behind the data points. I raised my glass to Summit Edge, to relationships that last, and to the understanding that sometimes the most valuable asset in a company isn't a methodology or a technology. It's the people who build connections that matter. As applause filled the room, I caught a glimpse of myself reflected in the window, not the devastated professional who had packed up her office 6 months ago, but a woman who had transformed a setback into an opportunity to build something meaningful. The journey from Bluecrest to Summit Edge hadn't been about revenge. It had been about validation. Proof that genuine relationships and authentic marketing still mattered in a world obsessed with the next trend. The clients who followed me hadn't done so out of loyalty alone, but because they recognized the value of a partnership built on understanding and trust. In the end, Brianna had been right about one thing. It was time for change. Just not the kind she had envisioned. The real innovation wasn't in abandoning proven approaches, but in recommitting to the human connections that make marketing truly effective. As I watched my team celebrate, I realized that sometimes the best revenge isn't about getting even. It's about moving forward and proving your value through success. Sometimes the most powerful statement is simply letting your true worth walk out the door with you.